people and live faces here. Going to talk to you a little bit about annual grass control in your hay meadows. In particular here we're talking about crabgrass control, but we could also talk about ryegrass control too, volunteer ryegrass control. So crabgrass has become a huge problem in our hay meadows, and crabgrass is a huge seed producer. One crabgrass plant can produce 10,000 seeds, and those seeds can live for up to 10 years in the soil. So you can kind of understand why we have such a population in our hay meadows. And the thing is, from year to year, if we don't do anything about it, the populations will build to a point where the Bermuda grass just fades out. You know, we can pretty much spray Bermuda grass with anything. It's very hard to kill Bermuda grass. It's a terrible weed to have. But the thing is, the one way to kill it is to shade it out. And that's what crabgrass will do. And when you harvest your hay, you'll probably notice a big flush of crabgrass at that time. And that's because crabgrass needs light for germination. And so we'll get germination early on, when soil temperatures get to be about 58 degrees or so, 55, 58 degrees. But it's after we make that first cutting, that's when the crabgrass really comes. Because it needs light for germination. We open that canopy up, and the crabgrass just flourishes. And right now our soil temps are about 64 degrees, but when that soil temp is in that 55, 58 degree range, I start looking for crabgrass germination. Now this past year we had this huge ice storm and snow, and the soils were very cold for a long time, and it delayed germination. We have crabgrass with seed heads in Baton Rouge right now, but up here it's about this tall. So Dave, my research associate Dave Sexton, is going to show you what crabgrass kind of looks like right about now. In my test plots here, it's not as big, but that's seedling crabgrass right there. So that's one crabgrass that's germinating, and from that one crabgrass that germinates, 10,000 seeds can be produced. So you can kind of understand over a short amount of time how populations can build in our hay meadows. So we have this problem. We have crabgrass, we have goosegrass, we have foxtails, and we have other annual grasses that are huge problems in our hay meadows. And we want to have a monoculture of Bermuda grass. So last year, in August of 2020, Resalon was released. And I've been looking at it for probably 4 years now. Resalon is very good. I believe it's, at least for now, it's the answer for crabgrass control pre-emergence. And timing is everything. And in our test plots right here, we timed this March 3rd. Our soil temperatures were really cold then, and we can tell because our crabgrass is still being delayed. Typically, this is late for the application. I like to be somewhere around Valentine's Day, probably up in this area, maybe a week before Valentine's Day. Getting Resalon out early is the key. It's a pre-emerge herbicide. You're not going to get any post-activity on Resalon on crabgrass. It's not reliable as a post herbicide. So pre-emergence is everything. So timing is everything. And so we need to time that application before the crabgrass germinates, well before the crabgrass germinates. So I like that timing for Resalon, the first application. If you're going after crabgrass, be it end of January all the way up to Valentine's Day, somewhere in that period right there, because if you've got a history of crabgrass, when those soil temperatures get right, and if it's getting enough light, that crabgrass is going to be coming. Another reason too to keep our Bermuda grasses as thick and healthy as we possibly can, knowing that crabgrass needs light for germination. So here we timed the application March 3rd, and we hit it just right. If you look, we have our plots are 12 feet wide, and we sprayed the center 10 feet. We also have a running untreated check here. If you walk down this untreated check, we have it actually marked. There's crabgrass germinating there. Where we sprayed with Resalon at 3 ounces per acre, we don't have any crabgrass in that area. The way you make this application, the way you really get good crabgrass control is you make that application in late winter, the first application, and then after the first cutting, you make a follow-up application of about 3 ounces per acre, somewhere in that range. You can't put more than 6 ounces out over a year. But we're going to get season-long crabgrass control with this application. Now, if your problem is volunteer ryegrass, you might consider making the application in September if you're mainly dealing with volunteer ryegrass. And it's very good. Everything I've ever looked at, any of my test plots where I'm trying to control volunteer ryegrass, that September application has just been near 100% every time. So if your problem is volunteer ryegrass, then it's a very good herbicide for that too, pre-emergence. Now, if you're in the ryegrass business and you want to grow ryegrass, this herbicide is not going to be for you because it's a long residual, 18 months before you can plant ryegrass again according to the product label. So it's a long-term control of ryegrass. So it may not fit you if you have a ryegrass operation, where you're planting ryegrass in your harvesting ryegrass. So, but for crabgrass and goosegrass, foxtail, it's a very good herbicide and has looked good for us in our test plots. So we made the application March 3rd. We have an application of 5 ounces per acre here, also applied on March 3rd. Here we have a Resalon. The first application occurred March 3rd. The second application will occur after the harvest, so it should actually go out right about now. And we also have Prowl as kind of the standard, Prowl H2O. Also, this application of Prowl H2O was made on March 3rd. It's very clean also. Prowl doesn't have the residual that the Resalon has, and I've had some good test plots through the years with Prowl on crabgrass. I've had some failures with it too. So you can put up to 4 quarts per acre, 4.2 quarts per acre of Prowl H2O in your hay meadows. So if you have a ryegrass operation, the Prowl H2O might be a better fit for you. Question?
Have y'all done a combination of Prowl and Resalon?
Okay, the question is, have we looked at Prowl plus Resalon? We have not looked at Prowl plus Resalon. That we don't know where. If there was maybe a hole in Resalon and maybe a hole in Prowl, that might be a way to tank mix and see if you can clean up all the holes of the herbicides. But we really haven't seen a lot of holes in the Resalon. And
my ryegrass control with the Resalon it's been effective. I'm gonna say 80% control, maybe.
Yeah.
But you're still getting some ryegrass coming up through.
Yeah. So he's getting about 80% control of his ryegrass. When was your timing?
I was probably been late fall of last year. I'm gonna say September, October-ish.
Yeah, so we want to really time it in September if we can. Now, I've looked at some later season applications with Resalon, and when I've gone a little late with it, that's when I've had some ryegrass pop through. If I can get it, before the end of September, the volunteer ryegrass starts germinating up in this area, especially in September. So we want to get that one out as early as we possibly can. With Resalon, going early is much better than going right up the day before germination. Yeah, that's where we've seen some holes.
Ron, you didn't have any Roundup with your March application?
Okay, the question is, did I have any Roundup with my March application? Usually I do put Roundup with it. Here I did not. When we put Resalon alone, we'll see some activity on ryegrass. You'll see it kind of fade a little bit. I haven't necessarily completely blew it away with just Resalon alone, but normally we would put Roundup with it to try to clean up all the existing weed populations that are out there, definitely, or paraquat or something like that. We did not include it in this application. Yep. It does tank mix well though with a non-selective herbicide. So what we're seeing though is the 2 applications here those 2 applications should keep you pretty clean through the growing season for crabgrass, for goosegrass, and some of these other annual grasses. But timing again is everything. When I've had some failures with Resalon is when I've gone too late for the application. Tried to depend on post control on crabgrass or on foxtail or something like that. That's when I've had failures with it. But we think, at least for now, for what we're seeing, this would be, if you have a crabgrass problem, this is probably your best bet right here. So what if you haven't put it out yet? Well, if you haven't put it out yet, we put out some strip plots yesterday in some areas where the crabgrass is already emerged. And so you'll need to put something with the Resalon, something like a glyphosate, 7 or so ounces of a 4-pound material, maybe Pastora paint mixed with the Resalon to try to kill the emerged crabgrass and get the residual back on the existing crabgrass population that's in the soil. Anybody have any questions about anything we talked about? Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you, Jason. So when you put these herbicides out, you do want to get rainfall pretty soon. Now, Prowl, we'll kind of break down degrade a little bit, and so you'll lose some prowl, some pendimethalin a little bit. The Resalon, not so much, but we do need to get rainfall to get it activated pretty soon, within a week or so. A week, 10 days or so would be the best case scenario. And that right there would tell you you'd be better off to get it out early than to try to time it when some of this stuff starts germinating. Because when our soil temps get to be about 55, 58 degrees, we're going to start seeing some crabgrass emerging in those locations. But yes, rainfall, quarter-inch, half-inch of rain would be very helpful to get this activated. You got to get into the zone where the weed seeds are germinating. Most of this crabgrass is sitting on top of the soil, or it's not very much covering of soil on top of the crabgrass. So we got to get it activated. We got to get it into the zone where the crabgrass is germinating. So rainfall is important.
What about on just grazing?
You can use this.
Control the crabgrass like you're talking about here?
If you have cattle and you're grazing, I believe that the cattle will take care of a lot of that crabgrass because it's really good grazing. So it may not be a fit for you for something like that. So you just rely on your cattle to just kind of keep it grazed out. But this is, I think, although it is labeled for pastures too, I think it's a better fit for the hay meadow. And then you can use this in bahia grass as well. The prowl can be used in bahia grass too. Okay, so this is just volunteer ryegrass. I believe most of this is volunteer ryegrass that you see, and that's how bad it can get. These populations of volunteer ryegrass will just build, and throughout North Louisiana, we're seeing a lot of issues with Roundup resistance. So this is another mode of action, and you're controlling it as a free. I know in parts of North Louisiana where the drainage isn't very, very good, sometimes we can't get out in our pastures, in our hay meadows to spray it post-emerge. So with Resalon, if you're mainly targeting ryegrass, you'd make that September application. And you would probably do that when it's nice and dry, and then you get rainfall, get it activated, and you'll get the volunteer ryegrass controlled, and you won't be trying to control it post-emerge. We're seeing a lot of resistance issues with it.
So at one point you said late winter and then after the first cut application.
Yes.
And another point you made where you said September and then like around February.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm asking here is I'm in one of those low-lying areas where it's kind of hard to get in.
Yeah.
Would you recommend? I'm kind of going after rye and crabgrass.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
sequence do you think would be better in that scenario?
So this producer has a lot of ryegrass, volunteer ryegrass, and you also have some crabgrass. So I think I'd probably focus more on if I have more ryegrass, volunteer ryegrass, I'd probably make that fall application, and then I'd come back in February and probably catch another 3 ounces. The way the label reads, you can only put 6 ounces total per 12 months. So I think I would focus on what my biggest problem is, maybe that September application, and then come back in February and maybe catch the crabgrass before it germinates. I think that program will work for you. Yes, sir.
What's your cost per acre?
Cost per acre, it's under $30 per acre for 3 ounces. I know we have a rep here who could probably talk to you about that. It's under 30.
Yeah, a 3-ounce shot is going to run you $27 to $30. If you go a 5-ounce shot in the spring with Roundup, you're going to be bumping over $50 an acre.
Yeah, so
which would address the grazing deal. This is priced really for a Bermuda horse hay producer because it's going to be $30 to $50 an acre just for the chemical for Resalon.
yeah, I think too, if you're seeing that your Bermuda grass is starting to thin and the crabgrass population is starting to build, it might be something that's going to be a good fit for you, because eventually the crabgrass is going to win, believe it or not. Because when you cut your hay, there's that lag period there. That crabgrass is going to keep germinating, and what you cut is going to recover the crabgrass, and it's going to cover the Bermuda grass. And that's the Achilles heel of Bermuda grass. It can't handle shade, and that's what will happen. That crabgrass will grow over it, or other annual grasses will grow over it, and then you're going to start seeing that Bermuda grass fade out on you. Yep, definitely. Any other questions? I appreciate that. No, thank you. Anybody else? Any questions about general weed control or anything like that? Some of the problems that you're seeing out in your fields. We do a good bit of work up here. I work a lot with Jason Holmes up here with producers, and so if y'all ever need us or anything, you can contact your agents in this area. They're very active, very productive. So if you need anything, just let us know, and we'll try to help y'all out.
Ron, why don't you touch on the nut or the what we were talking about up there, the sandbird.
Okay, so there is some question about southern sandbur, and it's on the Resalon label. How many of you have southern sandbur problems? Yeah, I can't think of anything worse to have. I know when we did test plots on southern sandbur, we wore snake chaps just to go collect data because it's like a bunch of rattlesnakes out in the field. But Resalon for me on sandbur has been a little inconsistent. We did our work in East Carroll Parish, not far from the river, and we had a great population of southern sandbur. We thought we timed everything correctly, but there's a very good chance there's some perennial southern sandbur out there. And I tell you, we don't have a great answer for southern sandbur. You better be willing to go post-emerge, though, and find something that works post-emerge. Pastora has some activity, some pretty good rates of Roundup have some activity. You get some injury, no doubt about it, on your Bermuda grass, but southern sandbur is very hard to control, and we think there's a lot of perennial southern sandbur out there. So that one also germinates probably about the same time that crabgrass germinates too. So you want to get that first pre-emergence application out early on southern sandbur. But southern sandbur is a big seed producer, and we also think there's some perennial southern sandbur out there too.
Back to your crabgrass. Have y'all done enough research on the same plots to see how many years it's going to take continuous before you would be able to back off on these applications?
Okay, he's asking how long are you going to be in this mode of I got to get this out, got to get this out. Well, we do know that crabgrass has about a 10-year life cycle in the soil. The seed can live for about 10 years in the soil. So, but every year that you're not allowing seed to go into that seed bank, you're depleting that seed reserve. So to tell you how long it's going to be before you can back off all depends on your population, but I believe you'll see some differences, really in 2 or 3 years, you're going to start seeing less crabgrass on your property just because you're controlling it, you're not allowing seed production. So I couldn't really tell you, maybe before you retire, you won't have any crabgrass on your property. I don't know what your population is to begin with, but I know that it can live for a while in the soil, and it's all about how much population you have to begin with in that soil seed bank. But it's an annual, and it has to survive by seed production. So we can't allow seed production. You can't keep adding to that seed reserve. So we got to do something that stops the bleeding on that.
If you're going to start the program, you would need to be committed, because if you spray 1 year and you skip a year,
Yeah, that's a very good point. If you spray 1 year and you skip a year, you're going to have seed production occurring. You're going to go right back into that again. So it's going to be highly important to try to stay with this for a while to try to at least get that population under control. Definitely, good point. Yeah. I think they're ready to roll, y'all.
Thank you. Thank you, Ron.